Listen closely, because what you're about to hear might sound strange, but it holds more power than most people will ever understand. Salt and a toilet. Two things no one pays attention to until you see what they represent. For centuries, salt has been used to seal covenants, purify sacred spaces, and cleanse energy that words alone couldn't reach. It wasn't just seasoning, it was spiritual currency. Even in ancient texts, salt was tied to preservation, purification, and spiritual authority. But drop that salt into a toilet, now you've got a ritual that speaks straight to the subconscious. Not magic, not superstition, a physical interruption, a signal to the unseen parts of you that it's time to let go. The toilet, often dismissed, actually holds symbolic weight. It's where the body releases what no longer serves. In this act, we find a mirror for the mind, patterns, beliefs, energies passed down from generations, flushed out with intention. That's the real power of this act. It tells your deeper mind, we're done with lack, we're done with fear, we choose something new. In this video, I'll walk you through how this simple act connects directly to my teachings in Think and Grow Rich. You'll learn how burning desire, faith, autosuggestion, and the subconscious all converge in a moment as small and as spiritually loaded as putting salt in your toilet. By the end of this video, you'll understand why real change isn't loud, it's deliberate, and why you've had more control than you realized, if only you'd known how to speak the language of your deeper self. Welcome to Napoleon's limitless code. If you're ready to break patterns that have haunted your bloodline and unlock the version of you that's been buried under decades of programming, subscribe, stay awake, it begins now. There comes a moment in every life where silence grows too heavy to ignore. You feel it, an ache not born from pain, but from the knowing that something inside you has not yet been lived. That ache is desire. But not the kind that flickers and fades, not the restless hunger of the shallow mind. I'm speaking of the kind of desire that burns, the kind that wakes you in the night and does not let you go. In Think and Grow Rich, I wrote, "Desire is the starting point of all achievement." What I meant was this: nothing in your outer world will move until something in your inner world catches fire. Wishing for a better life is a child's game, but when you decide, when you fix your entire being on a single outcome and refuse to back down, then you begin to speak a language the universe understands. You see, desire isn't noise, it's not desperation. It is intention wrapped in emotion. It is spirit taking form through will. And when it becomes definite, when it becomes your one obsession, the world begins to respond. Circumstances bend, people appear, doors open where there were none. But most never cross that line. They linger in the land of maybe. They say, I want it, but they do not commit, and life, hearing their indecision, withholds its treasures. Burning desire is not a request, it is a spiritual command. It is your soul telling God, I'm ready, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now. It is that fire, quiet, steady, relentless, that stirs the subconscious into motion and awakens the power that's been buried beneath fear, doubt, and generations of silence. All great movements begin there, in the invisible furnace of a mind that has finally made up its mind. Most people say they want change, but when asked change into what, they hesitate. That hesitation, those few seconds of uncertainty, cost years. A vague hope cannot build a bridge across the unknown. Only clarity can do that. The mind, especially the deeper mind, does not work with generalities. It needs instruction. It needs direction. It needs something definite to shape your reality around. Purpose is not about ambition. It's about alignment. When you know exactly what you're creating, life stops being random. The noise fades. Decisions become easier. You stop chasing distractions because your inner compass is locked onto something higher. The subconscious responds to clarity like a seed to sunlight. The moment you declare your direction, not just wish for it, but declare it, everything beneath the surface begins to shift. Resources you never saw before begin to show up. People arrive, patterns dissolve, because now your mind has a job and it's doing it. This is where affirmation becomes discipline, not chanting empty phrases, but speaking truth with conviction. Every day, I am free, I am clear, I am walking in purpose. You speak it, not to convince the world, but to convince the part of you that still doubts. The law is simple. What you consistently focus on, you attract. But that focus must be clean, sharp, without contradiction. The universe doesn't respond to half-hearted signals. It moves when you move fully. So ask yourself, plainly, what does breaking the curse actually look like in my life? Not in theory, in practice. What will you feel? Where will you live? How will you speak? Define it, Own it, speak it, until it lives in your bones. You are not waiting for permission. You are giving your mind a mission, and when that mission is clear, nothing can stay the same. There is a kind of knowing that doesn't come from sight. It doesn't come from evidence or signs or validation. It rises quietly from within, steady, unshaken. That knowing is faith. Not blind hope, not forced positivity. Faith is deeper. It's the quiet conviction that what you've asked for, what you've committed to, is already yours, even when your eyes can't see it, even when your bank account says otherwise, even when history whispers that it's never happened before. Faith begins as a decision, a daily discipline. You wake up and you choose to believe again, not because everything looks perfect, but because you've seen it within, you've felt it, and that feeling becomes your anchor. When you repeat that belief, when you speak it out loud, when you feel the reality of it, you're speaking the language of creation. That's how faith moves mountains. It does not beg, it does not waver. It simply says, "It is done," and then walks accordingly. Affirmations are tools, not for the surface mind, but for the deep layers beneath. When spoken with emotion and belief, they don't just inform your world, they transform it. I am already free. I am already chosen. I am already provided for. Say it like it's truth, and your world will rise to meet it. That's law. The law of attraction responds not to desperation, but to alignment. It may take time for the visible world to reflect the invisible decision, but once faith is rooted, the outcome is inevitable. You do not wait to see it before you believe. You believe until it becomes the only thing you can see. That's the mark of someone who walks by inner vision, not outer proof. The voice that shapes your life isn't the one people hear, it's the one that speaks when no one's listening. The whisper inside your mind, the constant stream of thoughts, judgments, and quiet narratives, that voice builds your world, word by word. Most don't notice it, but it's there, always, telling you what you are, what you aren't, what you'll never be. This is the inner script, and unless you rewrite it, it will keep looping, drawing in experiences that match its tone, its limits, its expectations. But here's the truth most forget. That voice can be trained, not silenced, not ignored. Trained. Autosuggestion is not fantasy, it's spiritual discipline. You don't repeat affirmations because you need convincing. You repeat them because the subconscious only learns through rhythm and feeling. You speak what you desire, not because you're trying to escape where you are, but because you're planting where you're going. I am powerful. I am clear. I am protected. I walk in abundance. You say it again and again, with breath, with fire, with calm, until the words stop sounding like hopes and start sounding like memory. That's when the shift begins. Curses, whether spoken by others or whispered by fear, can't survive repetition of truth, and blessings, when installed deep in the subconscious, become magnetic. The law of attraction answers consistency. What you affirm with belief and emotion is what takes root. So speak on purpose. Choose words like seeds, not to chase a feeling, but to create one. That's how the script changes. That's how the inner world rewrites the outer. Every day is a chance to feed your mind something true, and in doing so, you remind it who you really are and who you were never meant to be. There's a part of you that never sleeps. It records every word, every emotion, every silent agreement you've ever made with fear or faith. This is the subconscious mind, the spiritual engine room. You don't see it, but it runs the show. It doesn't reason. It doesn't debate. It doesn't ask if what you believe is good or true. It simply says yes. Yes, you're not enough? Done. Yes, abundance is for others. So be it. Yes, you're ready to rise? Let's begin. It takes what you repeat, especially with feeling, and builds from it. Thought becomes belief. Belief becomes pattern. Pattern becomes life. This is why rituals matter. Not because of the salt, not because of the toilet, but because of the signal they send. A physical act, wrapped in intention, says to the subconscious, we are no longer holding this. Salt, poured with awareness, becomes a declaration, a message. We are releasing, we are cleansing, we are no longer in agreement with fear, shame, or limitation. That moment becomes an opening, a chance to plant new words, new truths. I release the old. I accept the new. I am aligned with peace, power, and purpose. The subconscious listens, always, and the law of attraction begins with its whisper. It pulls toward you whatever matches your most consistent inner tone. So train that tone. Choose words carefully. Practice belief like you practice breath. Discipline, not force. Repetition, not rush. Over time, the old program fades, the new one rises, and life begins to match the rhythm of your inner renewal. Speak with intention. Act with purpose. The engine room is waiting for your command. Some patterns feel unbreakable, not because they're stronger than you, but because they've been repeated for so long they've taken on a life of their own. Generational pain, limiting beliefs, cycles of struggle. You try to move forward and something pulls. You speak truth and the old lie whispers louder. This is where most people stop. Not because they lack power, but because they mistake resistance for a sign to retreat. But persistence is the moment you stay, not in weakness, in decision. When nothing is changing, when it feels like your words fall flat, when your rituals seem empty, that is when you must press in. Because behind that stillness is a door, and persistence is the key that turns the lock. Repetition is how the old program got in. Repetition is how it will be overwritten. I keep going. I trust what I've planted. I walk by faith, not appearance. These aren't just phrases, they're spiritual weapons. Persistence is not noise, it's a frequency, a steady beat that tells the subconscious, this is who I am now, this is what I believe now. The curse breaks when the new story becomes louder than the old one, and that only happens through discipline, through staying the course when no one claps, when no one sees, when only your spirit knows what's happening beneath the surface. The law of attraction responds to consistency. It mirrors back your dominant energy, and if you persist long enough, the mirror has to shift. Don't stop at the silence. That's where the old pattern dies. Stay there. Speak anyway. Move anyway. Breathe through the weight. You are not losing ground. You are digging roots. Keep going. Before anything exists in the world, it must first exist in the mind. Every shift, every breakthrough, every healing begins in the unseen. Imagination is not a toy for children. It is the language of the soul. It is where God paints in silence and whispers, this is what could be, if you're willing to believe it. Freedom must be seen before it is lived. You must see yourself walking in peace, speaking with power, living without fear. If that image is missing, no amount of work will hold the change, because the subconscious moves toward pictures, not logic. What you visualize with emotion becomes instruction to your inner world. That's not fantasy, that's law. Imagination is not about escaping your current reality, it's about designing your next one. You become the architect. The mind becomes the blueprint, and with discipline, faith, and repetition, your life begins to rise to match the design. See it clearly. I am whole. I am surrounded by favor. I live in alignment with truth. Let those images live in your mind like sacred symbols. Walk through them, touch them, feel them. This is the work most avoid because it's quiet, invisible, but this is where all real power lives, in stillness, in vision. Every curse collapses when the inner picture changes. You are no longer tied to what was, you are aligned with what can be. So go inward. Often, build the life you've been afraid to admit you want. Make it detailed, make it bold, make it yours. Then, when the world tries to hand you the old version of you, smile gently and decline. You've seen something greater, and now you're walking toward it. There's a quiet danger in walking alone for too long. When the mind wrestles in isolation, old voices grow louder. Doubt finds its way back in. Patterns you swore you'd broken begin to feel familiar again. No one untangles spiritual chains without support. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. Sometimes support looks like one person who sees the real you beneath the fear. Sometimes it's a quiet partnership with the divine, a conversation between your soul and something higher that reminds you, you are not doing this alone. The mastermind isn't always a circle of experts. It can be two people sitting in truth. It can be a sacred text, a voice in a book, or a mentor who speaks life into your future. It's not about quantity, it's about alignment. Align yourself with voices that don't just comfort your wounds but call you forward. Voices that speak not to your past but to your potential. I am not alone. I am surrounded by wisdom, guidance, and favor. I am seen by those who remind me who I truly am. Affirmations are not only for the mirror. They can be found in the presence of those who mirror your highest self. This is part of the law. The energy you dwell in becomes the life you create. If you're surrounded by smallness, fear, scarcity, that becomes your rhythm. But if you choose light, If you allow others to stand with you, the frequency shifts. Connection doesn't just help you feel better, it pulls you higher. So seek it, build it, welcome it. You were never meant to carry the weight alone. You're not proving strength by suffering in silence. You're delaying freedom. The chain breaks faster when hands join, when spirits agree, when truth is spoken in unity. There are moments when the pressure builds, when desire feels unmet, when emotions tighten in the chest, when lack knocks at the door again. It feels like chaos, like failure, like something is wrong, but beneath that discomfort is energy, raw, alive, potent, and it's waiting for direction. Every curse carries a charge. That repeating pattern, that wound passed down, that frustration in your body, it all holds power, not to destroy you, but to awaken you. What you do with that power determines whether it drains you or fuels you. Transmutation is the art of turning heaviness into momentum. You take the very force that once pulled you down and aim it forward. That ache becomes drive. That longing becomes focus. That restlessness becomes sacred fuel. Instead of wasting that fire in distraction or suppression, you train it, you discipline it. You say, this energy belongs to my purpose now, and you begin to create. I turn pain into power. I turn lack into movement. I turn pressure into clarity. This is not escape, this is mastery. The ability to feel deeply without losing direction, to take the very thing meant to stop you and use it to break through. Sexual energy, emotional turbulence, financial hunger, these are not enemies, they are signals, indicators of life, and when redirected with vision, they become unstoppable. The law of attraction doesn't ask whether you're comfortable. It responds to your dominant state, and when your dominant state becomes focused, determined, unwavering, even your struggle bows to it. Nothing is wasted, no wound, no waiting, no weakness. Every part of your journey can serve the mission if you learn to take the energy behind it and send it somewhere new. You were never cursed. You were simply following a script you didn't know you were reading, patterns passed down, words absorbed, beliefs accepted without question. The salt is not the power, you are. The act is symbolic, a quiet declaration that something old is being released and something new is being invited in. Real transformation doesn't come from outside. It comes from awareness, from the decision to speak differently, think differently, walk differently. You've always been creating every thought, every emotion, every belief, sending signals to life itself. Now, you're choosing to do it with intention. Break the curse by breaking the pattern. Replace fear with discipline. Replace doubt with faith. Replace silence with truth. This is how change becomes permanent. This is how freedom becomes natural. Let today be the moment you chose power. Not noise, not hype, just steady, conscious alignment with who you were always meant to be. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this message stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your own quiet power, then we invite you to stay connected. Like the video, subscribe to Napoleon's Limitless Code, and take one small step each day to live by design, not default. Peace to your mind, strength to your voice, and vision to your steps.